Almost. Welcome to the Tuesday, June 3rd, 2014 meeting of the Hot Springs Board of Directors. Tonight, our invocation will be led by Mr. Matt Scully, to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand with me?
Good evening. Also like to wish a happy birthday to our mayor this evening. If you would bow your heads. Father, we just want to start off by thanking you for our city. Lord, we thank you for the amazing people that you've given us to serve and to lay our lives down for. Lord, thank you for giving us this place, this beautiful place. Lord, we also want to thank you for the leaders that you have placed over our lives. Lord, your word says that you place each leader in their position of power. And so, Lord, I thank you that you have handpicked this group to lead this city tonight in the decisions that are made and into the future. And Father, we also know what your word says, that wisdom cries aloud in the city streets for anybody who will pay attention. And so, Lord, tonight I pray that as wisdom cries out, that these people would hear your voice, that they would heed what it is that you say, Lord, and that they would lead us into a path of prosperity in your name's sake. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hereby call this meeting to order. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
McCabe. Here. Garcia.
Here.
Foley. Here. Carney.
Here. Okay. We are all present. The first order of business is to consider the approval of the agenda. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions, modifications to the agenda, including items, if any, to be removed from the consent agenda?
Mayor, there is one item. Item 17 under the consent agenda is a resolution approving the purchase of a roll-off collection vehicle for the sanitation department due to budgetary concerns after the accident. We need to pull that one.
Number 17. Okay. Number 17. Okay. Okay. Are there any other issues? Okay. Could we
motion a second
adopt as amended?
to delete it first.
Oh, could I have a motion to delete?
Item 17.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to delete item number 17 from the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, no. Okay. Now, may I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the agenda as amended. Would you please call the roll?
Mayor, is there
Yes.
any discussion? Can I amend that motion?
Of the,
We have a motion on the
Yes,
floor
to
to
a-
adopt as amended. If there's discussion, now would be the time. Yes, sir.
adopt as amended.
I would like to amend it to remove item 25 for consideration in the future.
To what?
To remove item 25 to consideration in special session for the future, not tonight.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion.
We now have a motion to amend the previously amended agenda to remove item 25 from tonight's agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. And do we have a second? Is there any discussion? I would like to have discussion on that to say that I think we need to have a short, very short meeting tonight, and our normal review will be in July, where we go over the detailed city departments and budgets, but I feel like we need to have a short executive session tonight that will not take long. Any discussion? Okay. So we have it on the floor to remove item number 25 from the agenda. All in favor, please, would you please call the roll on that one?
Yes. Jones.
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Carney.
No.
Agenda is approved.
The agenda is approved.
The amendment has.
The amendment has been approved. Now, I would like a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. Any discussion? Okay, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Carney.
No. Okay. It is adopted. The next item of business is consider approval of the minutes of the board meeting held on May 20th, 2014. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or modifications to the minutes? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Do you have a motion to approve?
Oh,
Sorry.
So
did I?
So moved.
So we have a motion and a second. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Approved.
Okay. At this time, I don't think we have anybody written down for proclamations or guests, but do any of you have guests that we need to recognize that are in the audience tonight? We have lots and lots and lots of guests. We're thanking you for being here. Anyone specifically? Okay. Thank you all. We appreciate your interest in in your city. And now we will hear our city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week we formally opened Kimmery Park to much fanfare, but I wanted to read a letter from an individual who sponsored a tournament here this weekend that to me indicates early success. This is written by George Wheatley, who's with the World Softball League America, event director for the states of Arkansas, Texas, Tennessee, and Missouri. This is a letter to the governing body. On behalf of WSL America and all 51 teams that participated in the inaugural Turf Wars event, I want to give a big thumbs up to Hot Springs. The decision to go to synthetic turf infields is the talk of the state of Arkansas. To think that we were able to bring 51 teams to Hot Springs for 2 days and 2 nights on 4 fields is still beyond me. That speaks well to your city as well as the new infields. The facility was great. I hope that this event created the economic impact you were intending to find. There is definitely a demand to come to Hot Springs now. Thank you for being a good host city. Attached is a check in the amount of $1,500 for the rental of the facility. I hope to bring in twice as many teams next year. That might be hard to do. Thanks again for your hospitality and involvement. See you at the next event.
Hey, now.
Well, and as we said, we really appreciate the contributions of the A&P Commission. We have 2 members here on the board, Director Jones and Director Garcia, who are members of A&P. And between A&P and this city board, and Sykes from Malvern and Tillery Chevrolet,
Yes.
and our legislative delegation through the West Central Planning and Development District, we've really been able to put together a prize attraction for Hot Springs in Garland County. So I just wanted to bring some early indicators of what's going on. Secondly, I'm sure if you've been through downtown, you've noticed that a motorist plowed into our signal at Fountain and Central. And since that's such a busy intersection, not only for cars, but for pedestrians going to the national park, improving that became a top priority in the city. And I really want to thank Bill Burrow and Denny McFate for scrambling, working with finance on being able to make an emergency purchase, but we're going to have that signal up and running by the end of next week. And we've communicated that to the downtown merchants, and they are very excited at that. Finally, in the planning department, we're pleased to announce that as of year to date, end of May, we've had almost $41 million of new projects under construction. Talking about private projects. This already doubles what we had in the like period last year. Revenues are up about $183,000 compared to, no, they're up $187,000 over a comparable period last year. Some of the newer projects that are now either have been permitted or are under construction include Riser Ford. I don't know if that's a remodel or new addition. It's a little over $1 million. Lakeside School District, re-roofing one of their schools for about $1.4 million. And construction, as you know, already underway at Oaklawn Jockey Club, the new Holiday Inn Express, and the new Marriott Courtyard. And I can assure you there will be other projects underway this summer. So that's my report, Mayor.
Okay. All right. In an effort to afford everyone an equal and orderly opportunity to address the items on tonight's agenda, I want to remind our citizens and our guests that we adhere to a 3-minute limit on your comments. And if some of your comments are going to duplicate what's already been said, we ask that you please consider that to conserve time, because we could be here for a long time. And for your convenience, we will display a clock timer on the monitors, and out of respect for all of us, we ask that you honor this request. While members of the board may have questions of the speakers, I ask that any general comments be reserved for the board discussion after all the speakers have been heard. We also ask that all cell phones be silenced during the meeting, and please refrain from any disruptions of the meeting, talking out without permission, without being on the agenda or the sign-up sheet. And should you need to leave prior to the conclusion of the meeting, we please ask that you do so quietly. Thank you all for being here. We really do appreciate your interest in the things that are going on in our city. Now we will have announcements concerning upcoming events. Do you directors have any upcoming events?
Oh, I know of one, but I don't know where it is, Mayor. We're going to have the cereal drive here in Hot Springs on Friday, Channel 11. I heard on the TV a while ago, you know, at that other store.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. On Thursday afternoon at 4:30, there'll be a community meeting in District 5 at the Forest Lakes Clubhouse, and the director from Mid-America Museum will have a presentation on the upcoming projects and expansion exhibits there.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to notify everybody that tomorrow the report out for the task force for downtown development will take place. I think it's at the Sculpture Garden of Convention Boulevard and Malvern Avenue at 2 o'clock. So, thank you.
Okay. And we yes, ma'am.
I want to remind everybody about our Hot Springs Music Festival that is taking place right now this week. It started Saturday night, and to check out the schedule, go to hotmusic.org. We are very fortunate to have world-class musicians in our midst.
Yes.
And to see a lot of not only free but small token concerts. Thank you.
And on Thursday night, we have Flavor in the Park, where all the restaurants come together and bring their delicious food. And I have tickets, and if you'd like tickets, you can do them online with the chamber, or go by the chamber and pick up tickets. And we want to be sure that all of you get to enjoy that. I think they have more people involved every year, and it will be at the transportation. No, it's not. It's at the garage.
Parking deck.
What do you call it? Exchange Street parking garage. So you can park free, come down the elevator, eat all you want to eat, go back up, drive out, and go home and be very happy that you came. So please let us know if you want some tickets for that. And
A ticket.
they're $15 today up until I think the last minute you can get them for $20. Does anybody know for sure? Anybody from the chamber with tickets in here? Okay. But they're 15 right now, and you can get them for 20 later. Also, this weekend, well, the 6th and the 7th, that's Friday and Saturday, it's a very important seminar on bridges out of poverty. They have invited the author of the book or the co-author to come to Hot Springs. They'll be at the Arlington Hotel. And it's really a great thing that's happened in a lot of major cities across the United States to help people understand the poverty around us, which includes the crime and the a lot of the things we have to deal with in a lot of different departments, you know, with the housing and crime and foster care and medical things. So it's sponsored by the Charitable Christian Medical Clinic and Project Hope. So if you are interested in that, it would be a great thing to go to. If economic development wise, it helps us to understand our city better, and so how we can really work with the issues that are going on in our city. And that's at the Arlington on the 6th and 7th. Do you have any other upcoming?
Oh, I just thought of something. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The Hog Rally
Here you go.
from the 5th through the 7th. Going to be here.
Same thing.
Oh, okay, same thing. All right. Anything else? Board of Directors announcements has been done. The next item of business is the consideration of the consent agenda. Items in this section are of a routine nature and will be considered as one item of business without discussion. I will now entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would you please call the roll? We have a
Yes.
motion and a second.
Garcia,
Yes.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted. The next item of business is a public hearing on vacating a portion of a certain street right-of-way located along Valley Street. Council, would you like to?
If you would
Just
call,
read it.
if you'd call the
Okay.
public hearing to order.
Okay, I'll call the public hearing to order. We will now enter into a public hearing. Did we have a sign up for that one or not?
I don't believe,
Probably.
get your sheet. This is the public hearing for an item that will be an action item later on in your agenda. This is opportunity for the public to come forward and voice any comments or concerns that they may have regarding this vacation of this right-of-way.
Okay, and it's on Valley Street behind, close to.
It's between the Greenway, Hot Springs Creek, and what was Edward Motor Company on Malvern Avenue.
Okay. Anyone here to speak to that? Okay. Yeah, it's open.
Well, I'm Chris Polychrome, 118 Covey Rise Trail. And Mr. Tallick has requested that part of that lot be vacated. His intention is to clean it up, and he's very proud of his properties and hopes to be able to develop that property to something nice for the city. And I don't think we had any opposition, and I would ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? Okay, we will now close the public hearing. And the next item of business is a public hearing on vacating a portion of a certain street right-of-way located along Bath House Alley. I guess Mr. Polychrome, you're on that one too, aren't you?
If you would call the public
Okay,
hearing.
we
I'm gonna
call
be
this
holding your
public
attention all
hearing
night.
to. Sorry about that.
That is behind the Coca-Cola Bottling Company, and let me kind of try to explain that. The Coca-Cola Bottling Company has been there for 75 years. 100 years, excuse me. So they've been a pretty good neighbor of ours for some time. And they owned a sizable lot on what I'm going to call the west side of that Bath Street Alley, whatever it's called. And I personally went and solicited all the adjoining neighbors to sign off. I got all but one, and he's on Quapaw on the corner there. I mean, all the neighbors were very cooperative, and I think we're happy that we might be doing that. And Richard McGrew was probably affected more than anyone because it literally surrounds his apartments, and he had no objection, in fact, encouraged it. So I again ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I had one question that wasn't real clear with all the numbers on the green spot that's back there behind the Coca-Cola. Did the Coca-Cola bottling company own that too?
That's there.
Yes, that's the subject part, yes,
Yeah, it's between where the fence is and,
correct. Any other questions? Thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else to speak to that issue? Okay, we will close the public hearing. And the next item of business is under new business. To consider ordinance number 01442. First of all, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title only. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01442, an ordinance vacating a portion of a certain street right-of-way located along Valley Street. And for other purposes, that concludes your reading. If you now entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And is there second? Okay. And discussion. Who will be our staff person on that one?
I can do that, Mayor.
Okay.
Let me get this pulled up for you so you can
Okay.
determine this particular area. Yes. Yeah, Mayor. This particular item comes to you from the petitioner, Mr. Edward Tallick, and Chris Polycron is the petitioner's representative. This will vacate approximately a third of an acre along the Valley Street alley. And as you can see, it is a undeveloped portion that within your packet, you noticed it's a heavily wooded area, and the petitioner owns the property directly to the right of the yellow line there. So this particular item, the public hearing prior to it this is the subsequent item.
Okay. All right. Do we have discussion? That's 20. Mr. Polycron, do you want to come again, or is that enough? If you don't have anything else. Okay, come on up and listen.
No,
Yes,
I was.
you didn't have a question?
Well, I understand the property owner's paying for any on all cost.
Yes, absolutely. Any of the recording fees or any of the relocation items, the property owner will pay for those. Yes.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Approved.
It is approved. The next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01443. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only. Do I have a motion
So move.
and a second?
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title. All in favor of the motions, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read by title only?
Ordinance 01443, an ordinance vacating a portion of certain street right-of-way located along Bathhouse Alley, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. If you now entertain a motion, a second to adopt, and have discussion, if any.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. And discussion. We have, unless you want to talk again, you're the only one signed up. Okay. Do we have any questions? Any discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
McCabe,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Davidson,
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Adopted.
It is adopted. Thank you. Next page. The next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01414. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
I so move.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules and read by title only. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01444, an ordinance accepting the annexation of certain territory known as Carter Dairy Addition to the city of Hot Springs, Arkansas, making same a part of the city of Hot Springs, assigning said lands to zoning district, revising the future land use map, assigning said lands to a board district, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. You can now entertain a motion and a second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and Ms. Selman, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Kathy Selman, Planning and Development Director. Tonight we have before us an ordinance that proposes three things. It proposes to annex certain lands called the Carter Dairy Addition, approximately 100 acres. It designates the two most northerly Carter-owned parcels and the three southern parcels owned by Dykes, Hood, and Fires as R1 zoning. That's rural residential. It designates the 25.34 Carter Parcel B as R4, which is medium-high density residential. Because Planning Commission's action is being appealed, the ordinance is written in the affirmative regarding the R4 initial zone district. Approving the ordinance as proposed will annex the subject lands and zone about 75% of the Carter Dairy Addition R1 rural residential, along with the 25 acres of medium-high residential. Board of Directors, at their March 18, 2014 meeting, remanded this case to Planning Commission. Following the board's remand, Mr. Polychrone submitted to Planning Commission an application amending the original request and seeking R4 zoning only for 25.34 acres, known as Carter Parcel B, or Parcel 8474. An annexation petition was approved on February 5, 2014 by the county judge. The Board of Directors makes the final decision about zoning a voluntary annexation and accepts the annexation itself. I'd like to talk a little bit about multiple building conditional use or Article 2 site plan review, because that may apply to the 25 acres if you decide to zone it R4. Planning Commission must review any R4 development that proposes densities above 12 dwellings per acre. Planning Commission's specific site plan review is highly detailed. Now, the consideration of more than 12 units per acre comes as a conditional use request and can only be granted after hearing and finding by Planning Commission. But any development that proposes multiple buildings on a single lot, such as is typical in multifamily development, also requires that specific site plan review. To gain site plan approval, an applicant's plan must demonstrate how the neighborhood will be protected from new development impacts. Staff finding and recommendation to Planning Commission is as follows. To recommend that the Board of Directors zone the Carter Dairy Addition Parcel 8474 R4 medium residential high density district and amend the future land use resignation to residential medium high because the application demonstrates compliance with the requirements of 16-11E1 of the Hot Springs Code. Planning Commission duly advertised and conducted a meeting on April 10th, 2014, and after calling for testimony, unanimously found contrary to the findings of the staff report and did not recommend that the Board of Directors zone the Carter Parcel B R4 or to amend the future land use designation to residential medium high, finding individually that the requested R4 zoning either was not consistent with the Hot Springs Code 16-229 nor with the character of the area, or could have possible adverse impact on the surrounding neighborhood and development. Alternatives before you tonight are either to not approve the ordinance annexing Carter Dairy Addition, to amend the ordinance to annex but to not assign a zone district, thereby causing R1 rural residential to be the initial zone district. The recommendation before you tonight, again, this is an appeal, so the ordinance is written in the affirmative is to approve an ordinance annexing Carter Dairy Addition and assigning R4 medium-high residential zoning to 24.34 Carter acres and R1 rural residential to the remaining parcels. And that concludes the presentation.
Okay, we have several signed up. We'll start with Chris Polycron again.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak for the annexation and rezoning of this property. First, in response to the Planning Commission's on the 16.229, most of you are familiar with where Forest Lakes is, I assume. It was on the zoning map as R1. R1 means you build on 1 acre lots. I did a lot of research in that subdivision, and most of the lots are built on 6,500 to 7,500 feet range, plus the fact that many of them don't have the 75 feet of frontage or the depth to qualify for even R3. A lot of them are R4 as they were developed, and many of them are R3. So I submit to you that there are already R4, R3 in that area that is almost adjoining the property. So I would argue the fact that there is already some R3, R4 in the area. As far as the RL, that with conditional approval, you have condos in there, and that's supposed to be 10,000 square feet per unit. And obviously, with the condos, it's many, many more than that. So the map already has R3, R4 type housing in the area. I'd like to point out one other thing, that I did some research on crime because I heard the people behind me talking about how much crime this was going to bring to the neighborhood. At the police department, we have an area headed up by Detective Mike Brown called the Nuisance Abatement Officer. And anytime there's an incident report, it goes into his office. The address of the Birchwood Bay Apartments, right around the corner from these, 72 units. The address is 330. In your packets, I put in there, and you can look at these reports from the Detective Brown. There were, count them, 3 incident reports for 72 units from May 9th of 1912 to May 9th of 2014. That's 3. In that same package, you have, I took all of Birchwood Bay Road from Central all the way to Lakeshore Drive. You'll see that there were 50 reports there, incident reports on Birchwood Bay Road. So I submit to you, there's already more crime in the Birchwood Bay Road area than there are in those apartments. So maybe some apartments are not as crime prevalent as we have been led to believe. The other thing I put in your packet was two from the Highway Department, the actual 2013 traffic counts that you can read for yourself.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. Thank you. Okay. Penny, Fire, and William? Fire.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Directors. My name is Penny Fires. My husband, William Fires, and I live at 938 Birchwood Bay Road. We are bordering the Carter Dairy property, and also the other 2 properties are back behind us and alongside, and we were annexed into this unbeknownst to us. Anyway, we live in a community of older single-family homes, new single-family homes, lake homes, and lake condos. We understand the Carter Dairy land and the other 2 adjacent properties to us will be developed at some time. However, we are very much against apartment rentals in this area. This would have negative consequences on our property values and the quality of security we have in our area now. Mr. Polychron was talking about the apartments closer to Central, the other side of Birchwood Bay. They are very nice, high-end apartments, and mostly older people are in there. We are asking the board to follow the recommendations of your Planning Commission and to hear the voices of we who live in this area and to vote against the R4 zoning of any part of Carter Dairy property. Thank you.
Okay. And Carol Strange.
Good evening. Thank you. I am Carol Strange, and I live at 901 Lakeshore Drive on the corner of Lakeshore and Birchwood Bay Road, directly across from the Carter Dairy property. This is the fourth time that myself and my neighbors have been in this building since February. The initial meeting was before the Planning and Development Commission because Carter Dairy owners were requesting an R4 high density on 76+ acres for apartments, stating that 12 units per acre was the plan. All of the area surrounding this land is residential neighborhoods. The Planning Commission unanimously voted against the R4 zoning. Then we come back before the Hot Springs Board of Directors in March for a vote. At that time, real estate agent Chris Polychrome said Fort Smith developer was only interested in 25 plus 3 acres, I guess it is. And this sent us back to the Planning Commission again. On April the 10th, we all appeared and stated our case. We are a residential area. Carter Dairy is surrounded by Millwood Subdivision, Village South Subdivision, Cherry Oaks, Silver Oaks, Oak Bend, Lakeshore Drive homes, Birchwood Bay homes, homes on the lake, condos on the lake, and all are zoned at low to medium density. Forest Lakes is a community of garden homes for 55 years of age and up, and it is garden homes, and they are owned. The Planning Commission again unanimously voted against an R4 zoning because it is not compatible with residential area. Many people have lived here their entire lives, and their homes are their greatest assets. Apartments would be devastating to our area. Everyone knows the problems that go with rented apartments. And there's been a lot in the newspaper about other apartments in Hot Springs, shootings and everything else. So we just can't pick one apartment out and say that there's not much crime. Mr. Polychrome says Hot Springs needs more apartments. Well, there are vacancies everywhere. How about he check the area he lives in? Maybe he can find a place for them. So here we go again in front of our directors, asking you to please vote against an R4 zoning for this 25+ acres. It's only a stepping stone before the owners ask for the rest to be zoned the same. Let's keep Hot Springs neighborhoods intact. Thank you.
Thank you. David Clark.
Good evening. My name is David Clark. I reside at 105 Little Oak Trail in Hot Springs. I'm still going to continue on the crime issue in regard to this proposed rezoning. And first, let me say that nothing that I say here is intended as any criticism of the Hot Springs law enforcement. I think the police do a good job considering what they have to deal with. An internet website called NeighborhoodScout.com evaluates cities across the U.S. as to various livability factors: home prices, schools, crime rates, etc. This information is for use primarily by realtors and people who are searching for a home. For determining crime rates, the annual crime statistics are gathered from over 17,000 law enforcement agencies across the U.S., and the data is validated, and then it's evaluated down to neighborhood levels. The latest data available is for 2012, and according to their analysis, a Hot Springs area population at that time of 35,722 people, The total number of crimes is over 3,231, and this included both violent and property crimes. That was a rate of 90 criminal acts per every 1,000 residents of Hot Springs. They had a crime index on a scale of 0 to 100, where 100 is the safest, and Hot Springs had an index of 1, which meant only 1% of the cities in the U.S., according to their data, were more dangerous than Hot Springs in terms of a crime rate. However, the website had good news. It gave a list of the 10 safest neighborhoods in the Hot Springs area. And included in this list is the neighborhood area of Birchwood Bay Road and Lakeshore Drive. That's their designation. I didn't make it up. I would attribute this rating, this one of the 10 safest neighborhoods rating, to the predominance of single-family homes inhabited mostly by mature adult families. Maybe some of us are just too old and tired to get into mischief. I don't know. We would like to keep our neighborhood as crime-free as possible. Injecting high-density housing into our area will increase the crime rate. Regardless of what percentage of the general population you assume would commit a criminal act, the more people you pack into an area, the more crime will occur. I request respectfully that you validate your Planning Commission decision and deny the R4 zoning. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, John McFerrin.
My name is John McFerrin. I live at 315 Sunset Bay Road. In yesterday's Sentinel Record, Chris Polycron was quoted making comparisons of Discovery Bay and Moonlight Bay zoning to the Carter Dairy R4 rezoning proposal for 26 acres. Ladies and gentlemen, that is an unfitting comparison. Discovery Bay and Moonlight Bay are lake condos, individually owned, and have never been substantially a threat to any of the neighborhoods. So why would a buyer and a developer and a real estate agent want to construct apartments directly into the heart of established and very desirable single-family subdivisions? And the answer, of course, is money. Money for a very few individuals who have absolutely no regard for the welfare of the surrounding neighborhoods. Will the proposed construction of apartments enhance the value and the welfare of our neighborhoods? Absolutely not. Our property values are already stressed from a down economy, and the construction of apartments, along with the ultra-negative baggage that comes with apartment rentals, will only add to the decline of our neighborhoods and our property values. The buyer is asking your approval to rezone only 26 acres to construct up to 312 apartment rentals. This would allow the remaining acreage zoned R1 for other builders to construct single-family homes. Now, that sounds very unthreatening, doesn't it? But, ladies and gentlemen, it's very threatening. If you were a builder of single-family homes, would you speculate in constructing homes ranging in a value of $200,000 to $400,000 adjacent to a huge apartment complex? Absolutely, you wouldn't. And with no construction from other builders, how long would it take for another request to appear before you, requesting another rezoning approval to construct, say, another 312 apartments? Likely you've noticed buyers are gobbling up the fine quality homes in the Forest Lake subdivision. And they're building them faster than they can, people are buying them faster than they can build them. The Carter Dairy acreage is a prime property for subdivisions like Forest Lakes, which have quality single-family homes. And ladies and gentlemen, you wouldn't want to put these apartments in your neighborhood, and we certainly don't want them in ours. So do as a Planning Commission and on two previous occasions, and please unanimously vote no and reject this absolutely terrible proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are doing absolutely awesome on your 3 minutes or less. Thank you. Randy Talbert. Okay.
Pardon me, I'm Bill Wilson. I should have been next on the list. Mr. Talbert's here at my request, so he's kind of following me, if that's all right with you.
Okay, I just didn't see your name. What is your name?
My name is Bill Wilson, and I'm on the list.
Okay, I see it. There it is. Please come. Yes, you may. Already checked you off.
Well, you can't blame me on being short, can you? Good evening. I'm Bill Wilson. My wife and I live at 317 Sunset Bay Drive. The property owners of our area employed the Peters and Associates engineering firm, their traffic specialists from Little Rock, Arkansas. And in the interest of your time, my remarks serve to identify our next speaker, Mr. Randy Talbert, an associate of the Peters firm. His qualifications are as follows. He joined the firm in 1998. He conducts traffic signal design projects, traffic systems development, commercial and residential site development projects, accident review analysis. Mr. Talbert has been involved in data collection, data analysis, traffic impact analysis, AutoCAD drawing production, parking lot modification design, and coordinating projects of this nature. He's also worked for clients that are major retailers in studying their traffic patterns and the suggested designs for their parking lots and their ingress and egress. Mr. Talbert is here, and in the interest of getting an opportunity for you to move along and possibly ask him questions, I'm going to call on Mr. Talbert at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to speak. I'm Randy Tolbert with Peters and Associates out of Little Rock, and I think y'all seen a traffic study letter that we've provided to y'all. We've also had some addendum pieces with that I'm hoping y'all got. But I'll try and be brief and get this within 3 minutes. We were hired to conduct a traffic study relating to the proposed rezoning of part of the Carter Dairy addition, and the focus of our study was a comparison of site-generated traffic with the existing single-family residential zoning to the proposed multifamily zoning. And as we evaluated existing traffic volumes in the vicinity of the site, we calculated trip generation comparison for development consistent with existing single-family residential zoning classification and compared it to the proposed multifamily development classification. We determined the projected increase in traffic volumes in the vicinity of the Birchwood Bay Road area. And just for instance, we did traffic counts at Birchwood Bay, just south of Lakeshore Drive, and it had a volume of approximately 2,600 vehicles a day. Birchwood Bay south, or just north of Twin Points Road, is about 2,200 vehicles per day, and Lakeshore Drive is around 2,900 vehicles a day. We used trip generation software, which is published by ITE, which is universally used in the traffic engineering industry, and it's well thought of, and it's used for all multifamily, single family, commercial, quite a bit of different uses, and that's what we used to come up with the projected traffic volumes associated with the single family versus the multifamily. For instance, the 24-hour proposed multifamily development is expected to generate over 2,000 vehicles a day, compared to about 665 for single family development of the same acreage. And this calculates to about 3 times the amount of traffic volume on Birchwood Bay. The projected traffic volume associated with the proposed rezoning is approximately 86% higher than what the existing volume would be if we included the proposed rezoning of the multifamily. The city staff has stated it doesn't present a potential negative impact to the existing adjacent single-family development. However, we find no basis for concluding that proposed rezoning has no potential impacts to the existing single-family detached residential developments. In fact, an 86% increase in traffic volumes on a 2-lane roadway is substantial. So, and again, that the zoning in the area or the adjacent area is all single-family. There isn't any multifamily in that area, and this just seems like an odd place to put a multifamily development in. With it accessing on a 2-lane roadway with very limited shoulders even. And I'd be willing to answer any questions if they arise later.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for your study. We may could use you in other parts of our city.
They have done. They do. They're very good. They are expert traffic engineer.
Yeah.
They just recently did another one.
We need probably more things. Tom Ellsworth. And you don't live on Tom Ellsworth Drive?
No, ma'am. I used to. I did it one time. I'm Tom Ellsworth, 112 Brown Street. I don't have any notes because I knew that these people behind me were going to take care of their business. And we are here and we are pleading with the board to see it our way. The Planning Commission, they've seen it our way twice unanimously. I sent everyone an email this morning. I know that some of you read it. I'm hoping that all of you did. And these people have come together as a very strong and cohesive group of people. We've developed into this group. It's an amazing thing because most of the people in this room didn't know each other unless they lived next door. And now we do. And now we feel like we have a force, or we are a force, that can be dealt with very carefully. And, you know, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the company or the group that is actually presenting this proposal for this project. I don't know if there's ever been any investigation by anyone on the board as to who these people are, what their record is, what their apartments look like. If you have, I haven't heard it. We've never heard who they are, but we found out who they are. Ms. Fires found out for us. And they've never volunteered any information. It's a really secretive thing. But, you know, I could sit here and make little jokes about some of the things that we hear when we're at these meetings, but this is not a joke. This is serious, and we need your votes to keep this from happening. And that's what our plea is to you tonight. So we'd like for you to vote against this proposal.
Thank you.
You're
welcome. Mike Vincent.
I agree with him and I yield my time.
Okay. Clint Tucker.
My name is Clint Tucker, and I live at 221 San Juan Street in the Village South subdivision that is right next to the proposed annexation lot. And I just wanted to come tonight and say basically everything else, or same thing everybody else has said. We are against this. We do not believe that a R4 zoning fits in these single-family houses and condos. And I'd like to make the point, as all of you know, a condo or Forest Lakes is not an apartment complex. You know, it may be non-conforming on the zoning, but that doesn't mean that it's a 300-plus unit apartment complex. The 16-2-29, I said it here last time, said it to the Planning Commission, which they obviously denied the request. It doesn't fit in. It's not in the general interest of this neighborhood, the surrounding area, and I just ask that you stand behind the Planning Commission and decline this request. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mary Bourneval.
I'm short. I got to bring it down. My name is Mary Bourneval. I am Justice of the Peace for District 4, and as a county elected official for the area that we're talking about here, I have received a number of calls, as I know Pat McCabe has as well. There have been neighborhood meetings, there have been solicitations and petitions and everything. So I'm here to say that I support the position of the people of this district, as well as the position of the planning board. In my previous life, I was a real estate broker with RE/MAX, one of the premier real estate companies in the world. And I was not just a realtor, I was a broker. And any real estate broker will tell you that there is a considerable difference in marketing, listing, selling, appraising, assessing value, when you're talking about multi-use or multi-purpose properties, whether they be condos, apartments, rental apartments versus owned apartments, lake condos versus downtown apartments, the proximities to resources available, public resources like your transit system. What we're talking about here is a completely different area. And any realtor will tell you that apartments in a residential area will have a distinct negative impact on that property. So I'm here to support the Planning Commission. I'm here to support the people, and I hope that you do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That was it. Now we have discussion by our city board. Do you have any questions for anyone? Any discussion?
Is this map, who did we get this map from? Was that from the Peters Consulting Group?
It's from Mr. Polychron.
That's from Mr. Polychron.
Mr. Polychron? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do you not have any?
I appreciate the professional manner in which the all speakers, both pro and con, addressed the board tonight on this issue. I know these can be a very emotional and volatile subjects dealing with annexation and zoning. I certainly understand the position of the petitioner. I certainly understand the position of the neighbors within that area. You know, the neighbors have really no protection being an older neighborhood than what the Hot Springs Code affords them. You know, many newer subdivisions have a lot of covenants and restrictions that protect them from different types of housing arrangements and development within the borders of that subdivision. Here we're dealing with bringing in a piece of property that is really county and is being annexed. Our normal default zone is R1 within this area. I agree. I think all the comments were very spot on. I really think Mr. McFerrin, you know, hit the nail on the head. Is if we provide for 25.34 more or less zone of R4, eventually the balance of that R1 will become R4, as I just do not see that people are going to build single-family homes adjacent to that R4 complex. So I don't, while it was remanded back to the Planning Commission to allow the petitioner to reassess how they wanted to go forward, I do believe that the issue is the same with the 25 acres as it was with the entire acreage as it relates to R4. If we go with R4 on the what's noted as parcel B, the balance eventually, you know, will become R4, and therefore I would make a motion that we amend the ordinance to annex but not assign a zone district. The result of that would be R1 residential would be the initial zone district.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to amend the ordinance to R1.
Could I withdraw my application at this time? No.
How do we do this? We have a motion and a second on the table. We're in the
I'll have
middle.
to ask the city attorney that, because that.
It's yours.
This would be part of the board's discussion. There's a motion and a second on the table to accept the annexation, but in essence amend Section 2 of the ordinance, which was the section that would have assigned an R4 zone. The motion to amend would assign that an R1 zone. The issue about whether or not the request can be withdrawn, the request for zoning can be withdrawn. but the annexation decree was entered by the county judge in February of 2013. There is 2014. I'm sorry. There's a 30-day appeal window for anyone who has any objections to the annexation itself. So the decree stands subject to the board's willingness to accept the property into the city for annexation. So I just want to clarify that for your thoughts and your discussions. But what's on the floor now is a motion to amend to assign R1 to the parcel B of the Carter Dairy property.
Yes, sir.
To the question that was just asked, is it appropriate to permit the petitioner to withdraw their request?
They can withdraw the request for zoning.
Yes.
If the board wishes to not annex it as a result of the request, or whatever your motive may be for not annexing the property, then you would just simply vote it down and not annex it.
Even though it's
okay,
been decreed.
I don't want to say I'm confused, but I'm trying to get it straight.
Yeah.
The issue before us right now is annexation, which defaults to R1 on everything.
Correct.
The separate issue is if the petitioner requests to withdraw on the zoning request or on the appeal of the zoning,
yes,
are they permitted to do that at the same time, at any time?
They are permitted to withdraw their request for the zoning, yes, which would default to R1.
Okay.
The separate issue is the annexation, and if that's not part of your question, then I apologize for muddying the water.
You answered my question. Thank you.
Okay.
Isn't it basically one and the same, though? Because the default is R1. You can't annex without it being R1.
True, but there are two separate issues. If there's no annexation, you don't need to talk about
Well, I
zoning.
understand that, but that's not what you had indicated. The request to withdraw is on the zoning.
The request, as I heard from Mr. Polychrone, is he wants to pull it all.
Pull it all.
Oh, okay. Is that correct?
And are you telling us because it was decreed by the county that we can't pull it all right now? Is that what
And
you're
you know,
saying?
for purposes of the board's discussion, anybody that you want to ask a question of, you can bring to the podium. If you want to ask Mr. Polychrone what his request is, then
Would you like to come back up and make your request so we can be sure?
My request is very simple. The property owners wanted to annex on the assumption that we could get the R4. And I guess the bottom line is you can do what you want and go against their wishes as well. I did not understand it that well, and I spoke with Mr. Albright in his office about that specifically, and obviously I misunderstood.
Okay, and your request was to pull the whole thing from annexation?
But he's already stated I can't do that. So I understand. So I guess my request would be to ask you not to vote for the annexation, and I think I know what that's going to take.
So, question. So we would first need to address this amendment.
you have an amendment on the floor,
We'd
correct?
have to vote that amendment down, excuse me, and then vote again on the original.
You can vote the
Correct.
amendment up or down, whatever the board's pleasure is with respect to that. And if you want to address the annexation issue subsequently, then you can do that also.
Thank you.
Well, we have an appropriate amendment dealing with what's before us. We can all. The issue then reverts back to the annexation request as amended. Now, these neighbors have been coming to meetings for the last several months. What would be if the annexation was voted down, what would be the timetable that this could come back to us? Because nobody has to live this way.
No, wait.
It could come back to the board in 180 days.
So then we just keep rolling this thing forward until something else changes.
Well, you're asking about the annexation. The annexation could come back to the board within 180 days.
Yes, sir.
I supported the remanding of this issue back to the Planning Commission just because we learned. I'm sorry, say that again?
I said, please don't do it again.
said it in the past
I
tense.
supported the remanding of this back to the Planning Commission because I was concerned with the information that I thought I had and was, and it didn't strike true with me. My personal feeling is that when we ask the Planning Commission, who are appointed by us, to do the heavy work for us and address the issues, they know the issues better than we do, especially in neighborhoods where they deal one-on-one with people. I've seen them really deal with some tough issues and really are doing their very best to come out with what's in the best interest of not only the neighbors but also the community. And they've really addressed some tough issues, annexation being one of them. They're unafraid to really address the spirit of what they're doing as well as the detail of what they're doing. And so I would find it very difficult to oppose the Planning Commission's recommendation to the board, and therefore I'm going to support Director McCabe's motion.
Okay. His was different than what we have before us. There was an amendment to, would you like to state that, what we have before us? We have a motion and a second.
You have a motion and a second to amend the ordinance that's before you this evening to zone the Carter Dairy B property to R1 as opposed to R4 as requested. It would in effect change Section 2 of the ordinance, which is at page 109 of your packet.
And we're only talking about Section B right now.
Only talking about Section B. You're talking about one issue, R1 versus R4.
And we're not talking about the whole
No, ma'am.
area.
No, ma'am. We're just talking
Just
about
one.
one issue, one thing.
Okay.
The amendment, as it's made, is how we typically do the annexations since I've been on the board, and we've had several this year. And I would ask you or Ms. Selman, isn't that the typical process we don't address?
We've had a couple where we have looked at the zoning before it has come to you for annexation. I think the Fontana with the church property is an example of that.
But the typical process
The default is R1.
is the default.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second to amend the ordinance. You want to state it clearly? State it. You're supposed to.
Section 2 will now read that pursuant to Hot Springs Code, Section 16-2-32C, the parcels called Carter Dairy Parcel B shall be and hereinafter zoned R1 rural residential, and the zoning map as adopted by the zoning code is hereby amended to the extent necessary to designate this zoning classification. That would be placed in place of what is currently in Section 2.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion?
You do have a hand up if you wish to recognize it in the audience.
We've.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just making you aware.
I think we've already had the public comment section, and everyone could have signed up. We've got this on the floor right now, so we need to go ahead and deal with what we've got on the floor without further discussion. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. McCabe?
Aye.
Garcia?
Aye.
Foley?
Aye.
Davidson?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Carney?
Aye.
The amendment passes, Mayor, if you now continue your discussion regarding the ordinance as amended.
Okay. Any other discussion on the ordinance as amended? Okay. Hearing no further discussion, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Garcia?
Aye.
Foley?
Aye.
Davidson?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
McCabe?
Aye.
Carney?
Aye.
Approved.
It is approved. Okay. Now,
So what does that mean?
is there any explanation?
You want an explanation?
I think you need to.
I think you need to
The
explain what we just
property,
did.
I'll just get, well.
Just a moment, he's going to explain what just happened.
The property is annexed into the city of Hot Springs. All of the property, the entire 100 acres, will be zoned R1. It will be assigned a board district designation, and the future land use map will be amended consistent with R1 zoning.
All All right, thank you. Thank you for coming. And if you would like to leave now, we'll wait a minute or two before we go to the next one. If you'll do so quietly, without communicating. Thank you.
I think I followed your mom and dad for a number of years. So
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
Rumbled.
It's going to get really cold.
But he left for the rest of the meeting.
Well, we've got another annexation.
30 days.
30 days. If they didn't give it to me. Crazy thing is, if we did, they could.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for leaving quietly. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Mr. Brown. Can we?
All right, the next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01445. Thank you for being quiet so we can continue. The next item of business is to consider ordinance number 01445. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
I so move.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to read by title only. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01445, an ordinance accepting the annexation of certain territory known as the Bayshore Lighthouse Treehouse Annexation to the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas, making same a part of the City of Hot Springs, assigning said lands to a zoning district, revising the future land use map, assigning said lands to a board district, and for other purposes. That concludes a reading. You can now entertain a motion, a second to adopt, and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Selman?
Thank you, Mayor. This request seeks concurrent annexation and initial zoning to PD plan development for properties known collectively as Bayshore Lighthouse Treehouse, located generally north and northeast of Lake Hamilton near Grand Point Drive and Bayshore Cove. The applicant, Tim Reynolds, petitioned Garland County Judge Davis on behalf of 164 separate ownership parcels totaling 31.8 acres, more or less, for annexation to the City of Hot Springs. Judge Garland approved the petition by Garland County Court number CC 1406, and the decree of annexation was certified on February 18, 2014. The subject land's boundaries adjoin unzoned, partially developed Garland County, except for its common boundary with a developed single-family R3 low-medium residential city neighborhood to the south. In concept, the planned development, PD, is a combination of zoning designation and site plan. A detailed site plan is required for permitting. Development must follow the site plan exactly. Once approved, the site plan becomes a zoning district by city ordinance in the same manner as any other zoning zone. Any zoning zone? Yeah. Should have left with them. The PD zone is well suited to mixed development densities, such as those that currently characterize the subject 31.8 acres. Therefore, should this initial PD zone be approved, the current development will be accepted as currently in place and to the current level of improvement. Adopted plans and plats will serve as after-the-fact PD site plans. The staff report finding to Planning Commission was that initial zoning to PD, plan development, does not present immediate potential negative impacts to the existing adjacent single-family detached residential development, because residential development not now either recorded, approved, or developed requires Planning Commission approval of a specific PD site plan and development plan. Planning Commission duly advertised and conducted a hearing February 13, 2014, to accept testimony regarding the PD zone for the subject annexation by a vote of 6-0, accepting the findings of the staff report and recommending that the Board of Directors zone the subject property PD plan development and amend the future land use designation to residential medium high because the application demonstrates compliance with Hot Springs Code Section 16-11E1. Future development beyond what is now either recorded, approved, or built will be subject to local, state, and federal requirements in effect at the time of development. And Planning Commission's recommendation to you is to approve an ordinance annexing Bayshore Lighthouse Treehouse, BLT, assigning PD plan development zoning. That concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have Ray Owen. You may now come forward.
Has anyone signed up to speak against this? I'm not going to waste your time.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. Wonderful. Awesome. Okay, do you have any questions or discussions? Board of Directors, do you have any questions? Discussion? Okay, hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Jones.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye.
Approved.
It is approved. Thank you. That was as fast as we thought it was going to be, wasn't it?
Now that that's occurred, though, I will say this. If I represent a developer and I own some property next to the city and I want to try to bring it in and I get something to happen to where I can't develop it the way that I wanted to and and discussed it, I'm going to really think twice before I try to bring any land into the city as a result of that. You should think about that too.
Yeah. It was approved by the county. The next item of business is consider ordinance number 01446. Is it 46?
Yes.
It is.
Did we skip? No, we didn't. I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01446, an ordinance waiving the requirements of competitive bidding, awarding a contract to Grubbs, Huskin, Barton, and Wyatt, Inc. for certain professional services, engineering services for geotechnical investigation, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. You have now entertained a motion to second to adopt and have discussion.
Do I have a motion to adopt? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt, and we have a staff person, Mr. Carnahan.
Thank you very much. We were talking with some folks that are in our utility department that have been there for a long time the other day, and they reminded me that in 2003 was the year that Entergy made it clear to the city that they would not allow us to take any water out of Lake Hamilton more than 20 MGD until we found another source. So the city immediately at that time began looking for another source of water. And that's been now over 10 years. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
And we still looking for another source of water. But we continue to have good news on the Lake DeGray source and are moving forward in that direction. There's an open door there, and we want to take advantage of that. Even moving forward as we are, we're still looking at least probably 3 years minimum before we could get to where we are to having water from another source for the city. But moving in that direction, the next thing we need to do is to do the geotechnical investigations for an intake site. We have an intake site that the health department and the Corps of Engineers have approved. We now need to be able to get more information at that site so that we can do more preliminary design and help to better define the cost of installing that intake. And the intake that is proposed by Christ Engineers, our consultant, is a inclined pipe intake which will follow the slope of lakeshore down into the rock and down to the bottom of the lake with ports at different levels in the lake. And but that's all very expensive type specialized work that requires putting a drill rig on a barge out in the water and drilling down through as much as 50 feet of water before you ever get to the lake bottom, and then drilling on down into the lake bottom maybe another 40 or 50 feet. There also are borings required up on the lake shore where the equipment and the buildings and the controls will sit, and along a roadway and a water pipeline that would leave that site coming toward Hot Springs. So all that work is specialized and expensive. Grubbs, Hoskin, Barton, and Wyatt has submitted a proposal for $179,600, and we're recommending that you award this contract to them and waive competitive bidding to do so. The reason we're asking you to waive competitive bidding is because they are specialized in this type of work. In fact, they just did a very similar intake with Christ Engineers on another lake in Arkansas, so they're quite familiar with this, and they have worked with the Corps of Engineers already to get the permits that they need to go out into the lake and do this work. They've been in business in Arkansas for more than 50 years. They have the capability and experience and the familiarity with this type of work. So we'd like to ask then that you would approve the award of this contract to that firm.
Okay.
Any questions?
Do you have any questions?
Gary, it's not as though this firm has not been vetted at all. Christ went through their proposals and chose this company after they vetted them against others as well. Right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. All right. Any discussion at all? Hearing none, would you please?
Typically, when we entertain a professional like Christ Engineering, they would include this as a cost of determining the structure that we have to use. But I spoke with Gary earlier, and Christ Engineering specifically excluded this in their proposal. So
that's correct.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Foley?
Aye.
Davidson?
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
McCabe?
Aye.
Garcia?
Aye.
Carney?
Aye. It is approved. Okay. The next item of business is the Board of Directors' comments. Are there any comments that you need to make at the conclusion? Okay, hearing none. Immediately following the adjournment of tonight's business.
I had one.
Okay.
Earlier tonight, I made an error by saying that the traffic signal at Central and Fountain would be on by the end of next week. Actually, it's on tonight. I want to thank Bill. Took my comment and went, "Hey, I'll go make it happen tonight." So
Twice today I saw Mr. McFade out there, and I'm afraid he may be sunburned. 'Cause
They
he was
were
out there all day.
actually working on that as we were coming into the meeting, and I got a text from him that said, "Hey, the light's up, running, and the signals are good." So
that's pretty quick.
And the concrete cured? You said yesterday it took 3 days to cure.
fortunately, we found a pole that had the exact. We were able to use the existing foundation. We found a pole that had the same template for the bolts. So,
wow.
Fortunately, we had some inventory that we were able to use.
So there's no wet concrete that we can run down and put our initials in?
No, there's a new tunnel.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody's been on it fast this week, and I'll just say congratulations to at our MPO meeting. I mentioned that the state hadn't been mowing underneath the bypass and at Central and Higdon Ferry. And the next, Monday morning, they're out there early mowing all of that, and they're going to take care of the weeds that come up in the sidewalk on those two areas, because it's the entrance to our shopping areas, our restaurants, and it's been looking, and they've just got out there and did it immediately. So thanks to everybody that made that happen. we need to do it about every other week, but thanks. And then, hearing no further discussion, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
All right, Mayor.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. We do have